Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It feels like a while since I've spoken to you, but it's actually I think only been like 2 weeks because of Vlogmas. But I've missed you guys, and also this is decorative, nothing is happening here. Today's video is actually really exciting because I feel like I always see my favourite like booktubers do these videos, and I'm going to do one this year, and that is going to be my top 25 books of 2025. Now, I would say that my reading this year it's not been the best year for reading. I think my average, when I was like looking on Storygraph, my average rating is like 3.5. So actually some of the books that are on this list I didn't necessarily love or wouldn't recommend, but in terms of the books I read, which was 64 books, these are the top 25. So we're going to go bottom up and then we're going to end with my favourite book of the year. Number 25 is actually one of the weirdest ones. It is Rose in Chains. This is like really surprising because when I read this book, I think I gave it 4.75 or a 5-star. I loved it. I consumed it so quickly. I was like, oh my god, it's so good. The longer I sat with it, and like it's been, I don't even know how long, a couple of months since I've read it, I've got more and more uncomfortable about it, and I haven't really been wanting to recommend it to anyone. I think it's an icky subject matter and it just has not stayed a 5-star, so it is actually number 25 of this list, but I felt like I had to put it on because there was an initial like, oh my gosh, I love this, and then it just like really sat uncomfortably with me. Then number 24 is The Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley. I enjoyed this book. I didn't love it. It took me a while to read. It was quite long. It was dual timeline, but it wasn't the same person. It was like her ancestor. We were living in like her ancestor's timeline and then the main characters, and I really liked the past historical storyline, but I just wasn't a fan of the present day one, since that was such a big portion of the book, because actually the past timeline culminated and finished way earlier than the other one, so most of the book was the present day, and because of that it did only get 3.5 star. But there were moments that I actually really actively enjoyed this book. Not enough to read the rest of them though. Number 23 is This Woven Kingdom. I'm kind of surprised this is so low down because on paper it seems like my perfect type of book, and maybe it was just like the way I was reading it or the zone I was in. Like I did towards the end of the year struggle a bit more with fantasy, so maybe that was why, because when I'm thinking about it I'm like, everything was pretty good. I have no complaints really, but I just never got that like obsessive feeling and like wanting to pick it up all the time. I do actually think I'm going to continue this series, and maybe that will inspire me because I think a lot of the first book is set up, and I know she came out with a new one of the series this year, so I do definitely think I'm going to continue this, and I do think if I'd been in a different headspace it would have fallen a lot higher on this list. But I kind of took so long to get through it, and then it just kind of didn't stick with me. Then we have A Curse of Salt. I read this not too long ago, and there were parts of this I really got into, and I was like, this is going to be a 4-star, 5-star, and then it just slowed down, like massively slowed down, and was very underwhelming. I think as soon as the romance became an official romance, it lost it for me. Like I do think the tension was sort of what was carrying it, and then there was a real cute found family vibe to it that was abandoned, and yeah, and so again for that reason that one only got 3.5 star because it just missed the mark slightly, which was really upsetting. Then we have a very recent read, which actually, is it my most recent? No, not my most recent, but pretty recent, is A Holiday Romance. I can't remember who it's by, but this was very good. This was surprising, probably my favourite holiday romance book that I have read. The banter was really good between the two like characters. I really liked both of them. I was just a bit underwhelmed. Again, if you're gonna do a dual timeline, make both of them interesting. That is my main complaint with like dual timeline books, because in this one I was really excited with the premise of the fact that they meet up every year and their friendship developed throughout that, and the past chapters were going through like all of that, and you were seeing them become friends, but you didn't really see them become friends. You kind of saw them not friends and then friends, and the past chapters were just a little bit random, like they didn't really feel like they added anything. So that was a little bit disappointing. And again, because you weren't getting the build-up of tension in that, it felt very rushed in the present, because obviously if you're having a dual timeline, you can have the feelings in the present because you're building them up in the past, but that wasn't really happening. That was 3.75. That did get close because their banter was really, really good and the characters were quite fun, so I did enjoy it. Then we got another little C1, which was To Kill a Kingdom. I really enjoyed this. I can't remember when I read this. I think I read it like, this one I think I read quite quickly. I definitely think 2026 is going to be the year of the pirates. Like, I did find myself enjoying those books. Obviously they weren't really pirates, but it had good action as opposed to A Curse of Salt didn't have as good action. To Kill a Kingdom did. And I also think there's another book in that I need to start finishing these series. Number 19, we have someone who is kind of making it onto this list quite a lot this year, and that is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Read this on holiday. I think I read it in a day. Very good. I love how she writes characters. I love how she writes banter. I love her romances. I love how quick, like fast-paced everything is. It just wasn't my favourite of hers. I don't even know what my complaint was. It was very good. So that was a 3.75, but yeah, it just didn't quite make that. And then similarly, I read Made for You by Lynn Painter, which again, queen of a fast-paced romance. It was really cute, really wholesome. The characters, as always with her, were really fun, but it just kind of missed out on that like 5-star feeling that some of the other books of hers have had. So 3.75, didn't even get a 4-star, which is probably me being harsh. Honestly, I think I was a harsh critic this year. They were very good. I would definitely recommend. Oh my god, guys, I just realised I lied to you. Why did I say The Bodyguard? The Bodyguard was way high. Guys, this is me not focusing. Number 19 was Hello Stranger. The reason, and I remember, the reason this was lower is because I felt it was very predictable. I kind of knew the whole time, and then it was shown as like a plot twist. Then made for each other. Okay, back on track. Number 17, Fourth Wing. Again, thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe it was just overhyped, maybe that was the issue, and I just had such high expectations. I did cry. I read this one in a reading vlog. It was my reading books TikTok told me to. 3.75. I really enjoyed it. They just spent a little bit too much time faffing for me. A little too much time out of the action. I would have liked more action. I think that was what missed it. Like that, it nearly got the 4-star, but it just wasn't like, and again they did a silly plot twist at the end that I was like, really? But I did cry and I was enjoying it. And I also, that was the first book I've ever listened to on audiobook. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I did listen to parts of it on audiobook. So then we have my most recent read, which is The Thursday Murder Club. Again, so hyped, and it was really good, very enjoyable, characters very endearing. I was just like, I can't say much without spoiling, but basically, yeah, I don't want to spoil, but it just, there were a couple things that irritated me plot-wise that just didn't, I was like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? This doesn't need to happen. So for that reason it missed out on a 4. Again, that was one I was just like, as I was reading it, I was enjoying it, but I didn't find myself being like, oh, I want to read more, and like thinking about it when I wasn't reading it. Number 15 was A Court of Wings and Ruin, which was, what even, I enjoyed basically all, like every other ACOTAR book more than the first one. So that one was really good, but I just think it was so long and it didn't need to be. We don't need to be doing that. Number 14, Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. Very cute. 3.75 again. Very cute, very fast paced. It just, I think my main issue was with this was like, it wasn't different enough from her other books. And I think it was fun having a sports romance, especially because obviously sports romance is such a big, is it even a genre? I feel like it's big enough to be a genre, but most of the time they're very like smutty and all of that, which is not necessarily the type of book I want to read. So it was fun having a YA version, but I kind of did feel like I was reading better than the movies again, which actually makes me think, I'm wondering, like, I read this a while ago, so I'm trying to think why I rated this higher than Made for You, because that was a completely different plot. But how I kind of go to is fake dating, which I get, but there's only so many ways to do that, I think, and I found that a little bit when I was reading this. I was like, Haven't we done this before? We're on number 13, and that was These Violent Delights. This is such an interesting one because I read this, like, I read the first maybe half of this book, maybe a bit less, and I DNF'd it. And then I picked it up for a reading vlog. I can't remember what reading vlog I picked it up for, you'll have to have a look. And I ended up really enjoying it. The second half of the book was so much better. Because I didn't enjoy the first half that much, it could only get, like, it couldn't get a 4-star. But like, the ending was amazing. Like, the final, like, I would say the final third of the book was 5-star. So good. I was crying, I was shocked, I was like, what is going on? I loved it, loved it, loved it. But because the first half I really didn't enjoy and the second half wasn't, it just couldn't reach that 4-star mark, which is such a shame. Then number 12 we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm kind of shocked this didn't go higher because I love Emily Henry. It just wasn't my favourite of hers. You'll notice Great Big Beautiful Life didn't make it on here. Anyway, Funny Story was cute. I think I've seen a lot of hate for Funny Story, saying it's not her best work. It's not her best work, but I really enjoyed it. Their relationship was really lovely and sweet, and it was very, like, it did feel slow burn. Like, it did feel slow burn. So for that reason, I was like, yes. Thank you, Emily Henry. Thank you. This was very close to a 4-star for me. I love the world she creates. I love how, even though her books are romance, there's so much emphasis on other relationships within her books, and I really appreciated that. So I did really, really enjoy this book, and I probably will reread it at some point, especially since all of her books have been commissioned for film and TV. I definitely will. Now we are into the 4 stars. So number 10 we have A Court of Mist and Fury. I really enjoyed this one. Plot twists, I read it decently quickly considering the size. This was my favourite of the ACOTAR series. Number 9, Sunrise on the Reaping. Fantastic. Again, I cried. I read it in a day. I think my main complaint with this one is it did feel like it had been written for the film as opposed to written and then the film rights came on. I definitely was like, oh, she's writing this with the film in mind. Number 8, Ballad of the Ever After of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I read this was like the first few books I read. I think it was literally, I read all 3 of the books the first week of January. So this has stood the test of time. I definitely have like remained thinking about this series, and I really enjoyed A Ballad of Ever After. Is that the second one or the third one? Again, I enjoyed them more than the first one, I think. Such a unique vibe, like world built, like, oh my gosh, that's the one thing you've got to give Stephanie Garber credit for. The world she creates, the magic systems, everything is just sensational. Like, I feel like I want to eat everything she writes. I don't even think that makes sense, but it's just so good. Now we have The Bodyguard, which I spoke about earlier and I criticized. No, guys, I gave this a 4-star. I read this, I think also, like, I do think the setting I was reading this in helped. I was lounging by the pool in Turkey. That was, you know, a great vibe to read it with. But again, I just really like the way that Catherine Center writes her characters. I feel like it's very refreshing and realistic. I feel like I've met people like them in real life. I love a good book that has like focus on other relationships, and his family being a focus of this one was really refreshing and fun, and I really liked all of them. And again, it had a very clear setting, being set on the ranch and stuff, and I was like, yeah. Now number 6 we have Spark of the Everflame. This was also in my TikTok chooses my books vlog, and I very much enjoyed it. I think, I don't know, if I read it again now maybe it would be lower down on the list, but at the time I really enjoyed it. I feel like she wasn't your typical fantasy protagonist. I definitely think she didn't have too big of a victim complex. Also slow burn, thank you. I was like, girl, how are you having this self-control? I really enjoyed the second one too. Haven't read the third one because why is it 1,000 pages? Now we're in our top 5. So number 5, I reread The Summer I Turned Pretty. Perfection. I mean, excellent. I think I read it in like 3 hours. Nothing else to say. Number 4 was such a good book. One of my, these are all like elite books. I would recommend every single one of these. I love these books. Number 4, Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Why is this not her best known work? I preferred this to Better Than the Movies or Nothing Like the Movies. I loved it. And then I like couldn't even pinpoint why I loved it. I've spoken about this so many times. Said to my sister, I went, you have to read this book. She doesn't read contemporary romance, might I add. I said, you've got to read this book. Don't know what it is. Loved it. She said, I lay in bed and I read it all in one go. She said the same thing. Couldn't pinpoint what it was. There is something in that book that just makes it phenomenal. It was so good. Then I read Serpents and the Wings of the Night. Guys, this was one of those like really awkward moments where I loved it. I like ate this book up. I've not had a single other person. Everyone I've spoken to physically about this book was like, yeah, didn't love it. Maybe I have to reread it. Maybe I missed something. But I think it was the first fantasy book I'd read in a while, and I was like, I liked him. I liked her. I liked the whole vibe of like having so many different characters, her being such a target but somehow still being such an icon. I loved it. The top two. Anyone who knows me will know that this one, I think they might have thought this would be number one, but not quite. It just missed out. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I love this book. I love a book. I think it's because I can figure out plots very easily. I'm usually not surprised. So if a plot twist gets me, it's already being bumped up a star. And that was definitely Alchemy of Secrets. I just did not know where it was going at any point. I genuinely was locked in 100% the entire time I was reading. I was literally like I was focused studying this book. Absolutely loved it. Would recommend it to anyone. Number one. Are we ready? The Rom-Com by Catherine Center. Can we take a moment? This was the year I discovered Catherine Center, and I've never been more happy for it. I randomly picked this book up at the works, and phenomenal. I gave this a 5-star. My only criticism was I was like, let's stop overhearing conversations. It was the most perfect romance read. It was like tension, it was fun, it was funny, they had trauma that they were like going through, it was to do with writing. Oh my god, it had everything. It had everything. I did not think that my top book of the year would be a contemporary romance. I thought for sure it would be a fantasy. No. Catherine Center, you are my hero. Thank you so much for writing this book. Charlie Yates has a special place in my heart. So that is my top 25 books of 2025. I cannot believe we're at the end of the year, guys. I don't know how I feel about my reading year. I think we have to go for a better one in 2026 because I didn't have very many favourites, but the ones I had hit, and that is all we can ask for. And I'm so excited. I would love you guys to let me know your recommendations for books. I want books that like changed your life. I want books that altered your brain chemistry. And maybe I'll do a video of reading books that you guys recommend. But for now, Happy New Year, and I will probably see you very soon with a new video.